It began like so many other cases. A single report. A missing woman. One moment she was there, laughing, walking, posting on social media. The next she was gone, disappeared without a trace. No one knew what happened to 26-year-old Melissa Harper. She hadn't returned home from her evening jog, and her phone had stopped pinging by 7:45 p.m. Her family contacted police, believing it was unlike her to vanish. Initially, officers treated it as a routine disappearance. Maybe she was taking time for herself. Maybe she just needed space. But when two more women in the same city went missing within 10 days under eerily similar circumstances, the sense of dread began to grow. The town of Brooksville wasn't a large place. Known for its peaceful parks and quiet streets, it had never experienced anything like this. The idea that young women were vanishing women with no known connection to each other sent a wave of fear through the community. Parents warned daughters to avoid going out alone. Fitness groups started jogging in teams. Storefronts posted flyers. The media started circling like vultures, hungry for updates. But for days, there was silence. That all changed when officers finally made their way into an abandoned farmhouse just 5 miles outside city limits. The property had been vacant for years, left behind after a family fell on hard times and relocated. Neighbors said it always gave off an eerie vibe. Teens dared each other to approach it on Halloween. No one ever made it past the broken gate. But something had recently changed. County survey drones spotted tire tracks near the house, fresh ones. A closer look by patrol showed footprints leading to the back door. The lock had been broken. When police stepped inside, the first thing they noticed was the smell. It was thick, sour, and unnatural. The kind of scent that clung to clothing, that made the stomach twist. They moved slowly through the first floor, old furniture covered in dust sheets, shattered glass on the ground, mold creeping up the walls. But upstairs, in the back bedroom, they found something they would never forget. A locked door, reinforced from the outside. It took nearly 10 minutes to break it open. What they found inside was not just one answer, but all three. Melissa Harper, Laura Nash, Emily Reyes. Alive, but barely. The women were restrained, but conscious, huddled in corners, their eyes wide with terror, their bodies bruised and dehydrated. Medical units were called instantly. The women were taken to the hospital. But the horror wasn't over, because the question on everyone's mind was this: who did this end? Why? The investigation shifted gears immediately. Detectives combed through the house. They found notes, diagrams, a wall covered in photos, strings, newspaper clippings. It was clear the person behind this had planned it for years. He had stalked his victims, knew their routes, had mapped the city. And he hadn't stopped at 3. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the basement was a notebook, and it changed everything. Inside, the suspect had listed names, dates, a total of 12. 9 were still missing. Some had vanished more than a year ago. What started as a rescue quickly turned into a manhunt. Police expanded the search. Every patrol officer in the county was alerted. They released a composite sketch based on a neighbor's report of a man seen leaving the area weeks earlier. The suspect was described as quiet, average build, unremarkable. The kind of person you wouldn't look at twice. But behind that forgettable appearance was a mind meticulously planning something monstrous. It took 2 days before they got a hit. A delivery driver recognized the man in the sketch. Said he used to deliver groceries to an isolated cabin even deeper in the woods. Claimed the guy never spoke, just nodded, paid in cash, and vanished. When officers arrived at the cabin, the windows were boarded, the door chained shut. It was like a bunker. They approached cautiously, and that's when they heard it. Faint sounds, movement, voices. They entered with care. What they found inside would forever haunt them. The walls were lined with surveillance monitors. Cameras showing live feeds, many aimed at public parks, jogging paths, parking lots. There were notebooks piled waist-high, each filled with detailed notes on women throughout the city. Some entries went back over 2 years. There were lists of schedules, jobs, family members. And in a locked room, chillingly similar to the one in the farmhouse, they found 2 more women. They were shaken, disoriented, but alive. In total, 5 survivors. But still 7 names remained. 7 women listed in the original notebook with no indication of where they had gone or if they were still alive. The man behind it all was nowhere to be found. It was as if he had vanished into the very wind. The FBI was called in. A multi-agency task force was created. Psychological profilers analyzed his journals. They believed he was methodical, patient, and highly intelligent. Likely someone who lived on the fringes of society yet had access to tools and resources. He was possibly a contractor, or technicians, someone who could move in and out without drawing suspicion. And perhaps most disturbingly, someone who believed what he was doing was justified. The survivors began to speak, though slowly. They described him as quiet. He never used his real name. He wore a mask. Spoke only when necessary. Kept them separated, monitored, and silent. But he fed them. Gave them books. Tried, in his own warped way, to convince them they were chosen. The public was horrified. News outlets from across the country reported the case. Communities mourned. Families prayed for closure. And then, 2 weeks after the farmhouse discovery, a break came. A hiker stumbled across something half buried in the soil near an abandoned rail line, an old suitcase. Inside were clothes, jewelry, and personal items that matched one of the still missing women. DNA confirmed it. Grave search followed. Authorities discovered shallow burial sites, 2 more victims confirmed. The suspect, now officially listed as America's most wanted man, had left behind signs that he was still watching. In one disturbing twist, a local news anchor received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo one taken weeks earlier of the anchor herself, walking to her car. The image was printed on the back of a map with a single word written in red ink. Closer. Police saw it as a taunt, a signal. The suspect hadn't disappeared, he was still out there, still playing a game. But the difference now was the nation was watching. Thousands of tips poured in. Psychologists, survivalists, and former FBI agents weighed in on news panels. Theories spread online. Who was this man? Was he working alone? Were there more survivors? More victims? And would he strike again? The 5 rescued women have since been placed under protective care. Their stories are being carefully documented. They are safe, but healing will take time. Trauma like this doesn't disappear. As for the investigation, it remains open. The farmhouse and the cabin were thoroughly examined. DNA and fingerprints have been collected. A full psychological profile has been released to the public. And the manhunt continues. Authorities believe the suspect is still alive, possibly hiding in remote areas, possibly blending into society again. He is methodical, calculating, and terrifyingly silent. But the truth is out now. His name may not be known, but his crimes are. His illusion of invisibility has been shattered. What began as a missing persons report became one of the most horrifying discoveries in recent memory. A reminder that danger doesn't always wear a monster's face. Sometimes it walks among us, unassuming, unnoticed until it's far too late.